Coaching in Session.
Your exclusive destination for unparalleled personal and professional growth.
With your host, Michael Rearden.
Whether you choose to live within limits or break free, your mindset journey begins here.
You might have been holding on to something too long. It could be a job, a relationship, or maybe just a version of yourself that is not going to serve you in your next season of life. I've known myself for holding on to things that I shouldn't have been holding on, very similar to what I just said. And you might ask, well, why do we hold on to things that do not serve us? Because they're familiar, because they don't require work to change. The mind, it could be our best ally, but it can also be our worst nemesis. It is catered to our luxury, where we want to conserve energy and to have an easy, smooth life. It's going to say to itself, why in the world should we change? Why in the world should we let go of something that might not be that bad? Well, what is that bad? The life that you could be living, but you're not? The person that you are becoming, but it's not someone you can be proud of? The concept is we can change if we want to change, but not everyone will change because they're holding on to a version of themselves that is not going to bring them into the life that they were destined to live. So all of this is to say that how can we release the control of what our mind is? How can we release this idea that if we want to control everything, how do we do it? And why should we do it? So we look at this article today that I wrote, The Art of Letting Go, how releasing control can lead to greater success and peace. Now, when we're talking about letting go, I'm not talking about the Frozen movie where the girl is talking about let it go. In a sense, she was thinking about letting go of all those negative emotions, the things that didn't serve her anymore. And rightfully so, letting those things go can be a burden lifted off of your shoulders. But when we're letting go of the things that no longer serve us, there are the things that are going to be the distractions, the things that are not going to be what we would like to be remembered for in our life, for example. Because if you're a guy, for example, you're playing a bunch of video games. I'm not saying video games are bad at every stage of your life. My kid right now, he's 3, he plays a little racing game, right? It's perfectly fine. Now, when he's a teenager, maybe he's more into video games, but I would rather him being in video games than drugs. So, okay, let me choose my battles. And then when he's going off into the workforce, starting a business, maybe he uses video games as a meditation thing, right? Some people sit in silent meditation. Some people go out in nature. Some people go on retreats. Some people go to yoga. Some people, they play video games. In that state of meditation, you're not necessarily focusing on what you want to do, but you're just focusing on just being still, right? Letting your mind rest. And then hopefully the next day you have an agenda. And that's the whole aspect of what life is. What is your agenda? If your agenda is not progressing you forward, you got to let it go. So today we're going to be learning about how releasing control can lead to greater success for ourselves in our life. Now, the peace aspect is going to come after, but we need to look at the prime real estate of what happens when we let go. Now, we're going to be separating this into 2 categories, the why and the how, because you might be asking, Michael, why do I have to still let things go even after listening to you for a little bit? I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced I have to spend all this time, all of this energy, all of this motivation, all of this discipline to change something that might not be broken exactly. What they say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But then again, if it's breaking, what do you do about it? So we look at the why for letting go and how it can be powerful is that it will allow you to be in the present. I can't tell you how many people are living in the future or living in the past. They're not living in today. They're not living in the now. And there's a power that comes with the right now because we could hope and we can dream that something is going to happen in our life. We can hope and we can pray that someone else paves the way for us so we have an easy trek. Or we can just say, what can I do right now? And it can be small. It doesn't have to be big. It can be a small step forward as long as we're taking that step forward. Then we look at the idea of doing things not to be perfect, but doing things to make progress. I understand when people are starting off, it is easy for them to say, like, why even bother? Billy can do it better than me. Becky is just better at it. Why do I have to do something that's mediocre? Well, perfectionism or mastery doesn't happen because you did it once. It happens because you have done it again and again and again. Where I could imagine, for example, the podcast. You can listen to episode one and then you can fast forward to today and listen to the episode, and you're going to say there is a difference in the quality of the sound and maybe the mannerism of what I do. Sometimes I'm tired. I'm human, where I'm not going to be 100% every single day, but it doesn't mean I don't give 100% of what I got. Then we look at the third aspect, and that's going to be increasing trust within others, but then also trusting in yourself as well. And in the article, I'm talking about how when you're letting go, it builds trust in the ability to adapt, meaning my opinion or my idea is not the only option anymore. I can't tell you how many people they think of when they're looking for help or if they're moving into a house. And yes, it is your home, but to kind of be so siloed and to create an echo chamber of just what you want. I'm not saying again, you can decorate your home the way you want, but not to get some outside opinions or maybe some outside help. This right here is going to allow other people to say, hey, my word is valued in our friendship or in our relationship. And that builds trust. Trust is one of the thinnest pieces of ice in the world, where I wish you can break trust and it's built very easily, but trust takes some time to build and it is so easy to destroy. So when you're letting go of maybe the lesser version of yourself or the angry version of yourself or the narcissistic version of yourself, you are just allowing someone to say, hey, this person is human as well. I'm human as well. But at least I know they have everything under wraps. To be in charge of your emotions is powerful. To not be in charge of your emotions is dangerous. We have too many people in the world that do not take ownership in their emotions. And I'm not talking about emotional intelligence. I'm not talking about being sympathetic and empathetic to people. I'm talking about, can you own what you are feeling right now? If you're happy, hey, good. If you're not happy, what are you doing to change it? Then we look at how we can open up new opportunities when we're not so busy on holding on to something old or holding on to something familiar. I know when people tell me to do something new, and it could be like, hey, you want to come to this party? Hey, do you want to go to this picnic? My wife and I, we live a nice, slow life and we love it. But sometimes we're like, hey, maybe we should go to this party. Maybe we should go out to dinner with these new folks or something like that. Maybe it's great. Maybe it's not so great. And maybe we say, you know what? We've learned that these people are just not compatible. Maybe this event is not compatible. Maybe we do something and we're like, this is a lot of fun. For example, it was, I guess, 2 years ago now. My daughter wasn't born yet. And we went to a country festival. I don't listen to country music. I don't know if you knew that. I don't listen to country music. I listen to jazz. I like jazz music. I like hip hop music, R&B. I like old music, like, soul music. I like pop music, of course. Just new music that comes out. A little bit of classical here and there, depending on who the composer is and what era. That's my music, right? I don't necessarily listen to rock and roll, and even though I'm not against it, or like heavy metal, I don't listen to that at all. But I said, let me go to this country concert. And it was nice. It was hot. It was summer in Texas. And so it was about close to 100 degrees. And we were outside in the sun. And we didn't go too long because my kid was maybe just one at the time. So I said, we're just going to go and just have a good time, just do something different. And we did. And it was a nice experience. We might have stayed for all of 45 minutes, maybe an hour. And it's funny because there's no readmission into this concert. And so when we went, everyone was like, hey, how you doing, etc. And then we left very quickly. And they were like, you can't come back in. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. And they're like, oh, wow. Like they thought they were going to keep me captive until the night came on or the lights came on. And so I tried something new, right? And it was nice. And even though like my wife was yeah, it's okay. But then it was funny down the road a little bit. She's like, we should go to one of those concerts again. We should do something like that again. And it's just the idea of trying something new, letting go of the familiar, letting go of our routine life, right? We become so disciplined in what we do and how we act. And this is to say for everything we do. So if we can let go of the version of ourselves that might be stuck up or so stringent and say, hey, let's be a little bit loose, let's be a little bit flexible. This is what geniuses are made of. Now we get into this aspect of the how, right? Because all of this is nice and everything if we can apply it to our life. But the how is going to be more difficult because it's going to be situational, maybe. It might be different because maybe one of the hows might not resonate with you. So you got to figure out what works for you, right? What works for your mindset. And we have a list of 5 here. So we're going to identify where you're trying to control everything. 2, we're going to practice surrendering. 3, we're going to shift your focus from outcomes to process. 4, we're going to cultivate patience and trust. And 5, we're going to let go of perfectionism. We talked about 5 a little bit. But when we're looking at 1, we talked about it briefly in the beginning where we're trying to make everything perfect to what we want. And we take control where we're like, hey, I'm taking control and it's going to be exactly how I want it. And this is something I had to learn myself because as a leader and when I'm leading people, there's a difference between micromanaging and managing, right? Just from 2 spectrums. And then from trying to control them to everything they do, which is considered micromanaging, or allowing them to be free flowing, right? And I'm not necessarily managing them at that point. I'm just teaching them, I'm guiding them, I'm giving them guidance, and then I'm allowing them to be free. That is my style of coaching or my style of how I'm working with my employees. However, there are some works that I do where I have to take control. Like literally, I am the conductor and I'm conducting and I'm like, hey, this is going to be exactly how I want it. All right, I want this crescendo here. I want this decrescendo here. If I want something and I'm going to get it, right? And you might ask, well, like you should be letting go of this perfectionism. I go, no, because there's certain things that have to be your touch and there's certain things that don't need your touch. For example, if you're a boss, CEO, you might be able to write your own emails, but how many emails can you do before it starts getting in the way of your purposeful work? Can you write 100 emails a day? Can you respond to every message you get on all of your social media platforms? And if you can, kudos to you. I cannot. It distracts me too much from my focus because if I'm over here responding to messages, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, whether it be recording, whether it be coaching people. I can't do it if I'm doing something else. So I have to say, what am I going to do? I give myself some tasks and I have to say, I can't be in control of everything. I'm going to allow my assistant to be in control of my schedule, and I'm going to allow my podcast manager to be in charge of my podcast, and I'm going to allow my editors to be in charge of editing, and I'm going to allow my wife to be in charge of the house or whatever, and the kids. I'm going to allow my son to be in charge of putting his toys away. I'm not going to be taking control of everything. At some point, they have to understand that they're a piece of the puzzle too. So there's some times when you have to be that force, but then there's some times when you can allow people to do what they can do. And it might not be precisely what you can do. It might not be perfect like you can do it. I can do a lot of things better than a lot of the people I have around me, but it doesn't mean that I have to do them because when I don't do them, they learn. There's a saying, it's not a saying, but it's more of a idea when a parent does something for their child. The self-esteem of your child is quintessential when they're growing up. But when you do something for them or you fight their battles, they lose an opportunity to have that self-esteem grow a little bit more, to have that confidence build up because you're fighting their fights for them. And the only thing you have to do is allow them to be them. So there's times when a parent, you can take control. As an example, you can maybe go into school if a kid is bullying your kid and say, hey, Like, this is not going to happen. Or you can do the opposite and say, hey, talk to your kid, equip them with the knowledge, equip them with the skills. And you basically say, this is the line in the sand, right? This is where we draw the line. And of course, whatever you do, I support you. Now, of course, we're not talking about crazy violence. We're just talking about setting the tone, being deliberate, not allowing people to walk all over you, because if you allow it, people will. So there's times when you have to take control, and there's times when you can teach and you can instill, and you allow them or the people around you to have that control of what they can do. So you surrender this idea of power. We are all hungry for power. We want some level of authority where our word at least has some level of meaning and significance. And if we don't have it, some people, they feel lost if they don't have it. They feel as if they're not doing enough, if they are not moving, right? But people all the time, they mistake movement for progress. So if we know that people are falling into this trap of being mundane, I'm sure we can think of ways that they won't fall into that trap or that habit. Because if we look at the third one, right, we're shifting our focus from the outcome to the process, where we're not looking at only the goal. We're not only looking about how it's going to be perfect, going to the end real quick, but it's like, hey, this is the journey. Let's slow down. Let's pay attention. Let's be deliberate. And then the aspect of patience and trust is just built throughout it. Because the moment you allow someone to do something and they succeed, then you can trust them. And then you don't have to control everything. And then things might be perfect. And it all happened because you surrendered. So all of these aspects of the how, they all blend together. It's not going to be instant. I don't think it's going to happen overnight. People just don't change because they want to. People don't let go because it's not good for their health anymore. Think of people letting go of alcohol, or people letting go of cigarettes, or people letting go of a version of themselves that no longer serve them, as I was saying. They hold on to it. And in this article where I'm talking about the art of letting go, how releasing control can lead to greater success and peace, we talk about how success and peace are all going to be depending on what you call success and what you call peace. Success for you might be that you want to be this busy CEO, and maybe you have your assistant do all your scheduling. You have them do all of the airfare and travel and rental cars. Guess what? That could be success for you, right? And it might bring you peace when you have someone in your life that can do that. Maybe peace for you is to live a slow life, and you call that success. You don't have to be busy. You don't have to have assistants. You don't have to have a big business. You don't have to live this grandiose life where you're wearing Louis Vuitton, all of these designer clothings and wares. Yes, it can be nice, but it might not be your nice. For me, I could just wear a Hanes t-shirt or something I get from Walmart or even the thrift store, and I'm perfectly comfortable. Now, there's times when I have to wear suits and I have to wear nice clothes or nicer clothes because it's an event or I'm with a client and they have a certain status. So I can't just be coming in with my shorts and everything like that. And you might say, well, there's a stigma to that too, right? But there's a wisdom to what everything I say is that sometimes you have to put on a tie, but it doesn't mean every time you have to put on a tie. And especially when you give yourself this idea of if you want to be in control, if you want to be a boss, and you want to let go of that stigma of having to wear a suit and a tie. And I remember this story, and it might have been from a guest on the podcast, but it might have also been from something else where there was a guy who was going in for a presentation. And during the presentation, he was focusing on all of the people that was wearing nice clothes, the suits, the ties. He was like, I have to impress these people. But in the back of the room, there was a gentleman who was wearing some baggy pants or some shorts or whatever and a t-shirt, right? I'm sure the t-shirt was clean. That person wearing the t-shirt and the baggy pants or whatever he was wearing and some sandals, he was the decision maker. He was the CEO. He was the head honcho. He was the boss. He was the leader. You wouldn't necessarily understand that he was the leader because he wasn't dressed the part. There's a stigma to what leaders have to do. But then again, we can look at the wolf pack. The leader's not in front, the leader's in the back. Why? Why is the leader in the back? This is not the aspect of leaders eat last. This is the aspect of understanding. What does the leader have to see? What do you have to see in your life? What do you have to let go to see everything that you can't see right now? Because right now, your views of life might be obstructed. Right now, you might be living half of the version or half of the potential that you can be living. What if you just relinquish the things that no longer serve you? What if you let go so you can reach greater success and greater peace in your life? It is a process, but it's not a process that I wish can be done overnight. It can take some time. It can take some effort. It can take a bit of discipline, maybe some momentum and motivation. All of these things mixed together can lead to change. And not everyone can just do things by themselves. Sometimes you have to get some help. And of course, you can reach out to us, revenconcepts.com. You can get yourself a consultation. You can learn how to let go of the things that you don't need to be holding on to. Maybe you can allow other people to have some level of power so you can move your focus to something else. There's a purpose that you can be giving yourself, and there's going to be aspects of your life that you don't even need to be paying attention to. I know some of the clients I have, very popular clients, millionaires and public profile figures and stuff like that, they can't even go to the grocery store anymore because if they go to the grocery store, they take pictures and they might get yelled at, or there could be all of these things that go on in the grocery store. But then at some point, you think back of how you can just walk into the grocery store and no one knew you, and you can go shopping, you can get exactly what you want. You're under control. And then now all of a sudden you can't do that and you have to get car delivery or something along those lines, or DoorDash. And this simple pleasure in your life, it could be your peace when you go to the grocery store. But now it's like you have to relinquish it. And I'm not saying that you can't go to the grocery store if you're a public figure or very popular. But maybe one day you don't want to deal with the people. Maybe one day you don't want to deal with the paparazzi or whatever. We see it all the time with celebrities. It might be nice in the beginning, but it gets stale very quickly. So your life, it might be stale right now. Let go of that aspect of life. Start to live more abundantly. Start to live more full. And then, as I was saying, a greater success and peace will follow. But it begins with you letting go of the things that no longer serve you.